Hey guys, this is Chris. Welcome to my channel where we normally break down international level fights for strategy and tactics that you can use in your own game. However, due to quarantine, a lot of people are practicing indoors now, and so we're going over techniques that you can practice in home or ideas you can use at home to further amplify your game while being in quarantine. So guys, this week what we're doing is we're breaking down how to open in a sparring match. What do you do in the first round, during the first couple seconds? I'm gonna show you what I normally do and my feelings about it. If you open differently, that's totally fine. This is to give you guys just some ideas for things that may be able to keep you safe while getting some information from your opponent. All right guys, so this week, once again, I'm joined by my little brother, Kyle. And so what I normally do in the beginning of a sparring match is we come out to the middle of the ring, and no matter what stance my opponent takes, so whether it's right leg back or left leg back, I will generally fight my opponent in open stance first. And the reason I do that is because if we're in close stance, I don't know how fast he is. I don't know, does he like to attack deep? Does he not attack deep? Does he only go short? Does he blitz? I don't know any of those factors, especially if this is one of the preliminary rounds. You don't know anything about your opponent. And I don't like the idea of risking my front side against his front leg, against my front leg, when I have no information about how fast his front leg generally is. If I'm fighting open stance here, what happens is I'm taking away a whole target because if he extends, it's only my back, correct? And that's defendable by a cancel. And secondly, from this stance, if he does have a front leg hook kick, most people don't normally have a front leg hook kick, so it's something to watch out for, but not super big on the radar. The second thing is, from this side, this side's only open for a back leg kick, and if he does go back leg, since it's further back, I have more time to react to it. So that's why I open in open stance first. The second thing I normally do when opening is, no matter what, whether the taller or smaller, is I will start to inch in. So the referee says, "Sijat," and immediately open stance, I start taking distance. I want to evaluate, number one, as I'm inching, does he hold his ground? Does he give up ground? And what it does is it kind of puts him in a defensive frame mindset right away. So here, I inch forward, and just in case they do blitz, I'm ready with a cancel or to close the distance or something like that. But in general, the big two things are, one is I'm in open stance to take away the target. Second is I apply pressure because I don't want him thinking offensively and free thinking offensively from the get-go. That's dangerous for me. Okay, so now it kind of divulges into two things. One is, if you're a taller opponent, what I generally do is I'll kick in the space. So what I'll do is I'll kick cuts just kind of to see what his reaction is. And it can be a front leg. Sometimes if they can blitz on the cut or anything of that sort. And in general, when I'm cutting, it's really light and really non-committal, and I'll mix it up between a cut kick or going for the backside, or occasionally I'll shoot up to the face. So at the beginning of starting match, if I'm a taller player, it's generally something like this: Chadi Kine, Algar Chibi, ready to go here, and I'll see if they don't take space, or if I move forward and they move back, I just keep inching forward. If I move forward and they hold their ground, then I get set for like hard cuts to let them know that that's going. Second is, if I move forward a little bit and then move back a little bit, what I'll start doing is I'll start taking this middle space between us with short, non-committal front leg kicks. And if you're a smaller fighter, generally you want to get past that front leg, right? So all this does is, all I'm trying to see is how fast and how strong does he blitz it at me. After the blitz or the fighting on the inside is going to be expected, so I have this kind of set here, and let's say they finally do get in. So I'm expecting them to close the distance. All I'm doing now though is I'm almost in full defensive mode, and I'm trying to shut down and look for what leg is he most likely going to try and use to score. And so by doing that, what happens is, number one, I get a feel for how fast they are, I get a feel for how strong they are, and I start absorbing and trying to use information of what leg are they trying to use in the clinch. So next time in the future, I know that, like, in general, if I do a light cut or whatever and they close in, I know exactly what side I have to shut down. And so if you're smaller, the game is a little bit different. So I still do the first two things I said. Normally when the match starts, we're here, and then I'll inch forward or motion. And let's say Coach Kyle, in this example, is taller than me. So here on motion, generally what a taller person is going to do is they're going to poke and they're going to try and cut it. What I'm trying to get him to do when I'm motioning is I'm trying to figure out his speed, his range, and his timing. And so when I motion and he pokes, I get kind of a feel for that. And so all I'm looking for though is after the poke, boom, I can go in with a punch or a blitz. And Getting past that front leg as a smaller fighter is like absolutely essential to winning the match, correct? And so once you're in the clinch, I'm evaluating how strong is his upper body, if I push him one way or the other. And if he's stronger than I am, then I have to be ready to use angles. So generally after that though, when I'm in the clinch, that'll happen on the first blitzes, I'm evaluating that stuff. On the second blitz, I'm gonna start trying to find openings to the body, especially because if they're bigger than you and you're not actively in the clinch, you're just playing a losing game. So after you get in the clinch, you want to be trying to look for, I generally try and take body shots first to drop their arms. And then as their arms start to move, then you start changing targets to the face, that kind of deal. But the important thing is when I'm starting the match, I'll motion and fake to get that information. So whether or not you're taller or shorter, I generally motion and I use, if you're taller, you kind of use a poke. And then if you're smaller, you generally use your footwork to motion and get them to fake, and fake to get them to poke so you can read all that stuff. Both situations though, you're looking for your opponent's speed, timing, and strength. And so that can either happen when how fast they're blitzing on you or how fast their front leg is. And so that's generally how I win, guys. So hopefully this is something you can use for when you're training mentally or just in general when you're sparring someone else. And besides that, if you use these techniques, let me know how it goes. All right guys, so does the opening work every single time? I would say no, definitely does not. And you'd say, well, why would I do it like that? Well, one is because I think it's a safe way to do it. And I generally open up like that, and I think a lot of people, as they get more experience, all you're trying to do is figure out and kind of get your gauge on your opponent, like how fast is this guy, et cetera, in the first round. One of the exceptions to the rule, I was fighting in Ashgabat against China, and I think China, that tournament, had experimented with all their fighters, and they said in the first round, just go ham. And so the first two pokes, he's taller than me, so I was kind of feeling it out. And then on the second time he lifted, he went all in, and I was really surprised. He came out with like multiple, I think it was like good 15, 20 seconds of like a full-on blitz, everything. And then by that time, he had taken a substantial lead. And for the rest of the match, I was trying to make up the lead, and I did get some points back, but never enough to cover what he had done in the first round. And then the way they played that is after the first round, they got all the points. In the second two rounds, because he's taller, all he did was sit back and try and cut. And so it's a lot more relaxed game for him on that side. So that's another opening you can try also. I would say it's almost kind of a high risk, high reward thing, but whatever floats your boat. This is personally how I open. Let me know in the comments how you guys open, and I hope this was useful to you guys.